What's up, guys? Welcome back to 4 to 4. We're super excited to have on Larry Rather this episode. Our previous episode, we had on Jason Donorovich from Penn State. He talked about his career getting shut down by COVID and everything else. Hop over there and check that out. This week, super stoked having Larry Rather, my old coach. Big fan of Larry. What's up, Larry? How's it going, man?
What's going on, gentlemen? Hey, appreciate you guys having me on and asking me to be a part of this. It's kind of cool to be asked to be on other people's podcasts when you have your own. It's kind of like a nice, I could step out of mine and do something else with somebody else. So as Brandon mentioned, my name is Larry Rather. I was the assistant coach at University of Charleston where I met Brandon for 1 year. I got to coach him. I'm currently the head coach at Fort Valley State University, which is Central Georgia. So I'm in the about 70-degree weather right now, and I'm not complaining at all. I have my own podcast, like I mentioned, by the name of Motivate. That kind of goes into the Black experience in men's volleyball and just different racial and cultural experiences that go on. So thanks for having me, gentlemen.
Hey, pleasure's ours, Larry. Thanks so much for coming on. Can't wait to hear some of the wisdom and some of your experiences that you have, through your playing experience and coaching experience.
And just to put it out there while we're recording, me and Callaway have the flow. It's the flow day.
The flow bros are back.
And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you got to go over to YouTube and check out the flow. It's something to be seen. But yeah, and shout out Larry for his podcast, Motivate. We'll definitely throw some links in at the end for that. I've listened to a few episodes. It's pretty sweet. Brought on some pretty cool guests that you had. I saw like the old IPFW coach, or is he still coaching there? And then Nikki.
Rock is still the head coach there.
Yeah, so he's had some pretty cool guests on for sure. And I think what you're doing is awesome, man, especially at the time that we're at right now, like with everything going on, like it's pretty sweet that you were able to kickstart that. And I've seen a lot of support go your way for that, which is awesome. But to get going on you, Larry, why don't you run us through your trip through college and things like that? It doesn't have to be super long, but I know you're one of the shorter guys with a whip of an arm who ended up going Division I. So I'm sure a lot of guys across the country in high school and stuff could relate to you. So what do you got going for that?
Going into my college experience and like journey going into college is actually kind of funny in the route of I only visited one school and didn't even go to that school. I never stepped foot on Ball State campus to visit. My best friend was going there in the name of Jamian Hartley. I grew up with Jamian from when I was in 7th grade. He was in 8th grade, and we were still best friends. So he was there before me. I was in the process of like recruiting different places. As a junior, I was getting looked at by some pretty big schools, but I didn't take school as serious as I should have, and it kind of screwed me in the long run. But not screwed me, but just kind of closed some doors off to me. But yeah, Joel called me and we started talking, or he talked to my coach first, and Jeremy Desirin was just like, hey, this kid just keeps getting better and better the more we see him. And he's undersized, yeah, but he has the heaviest arm out of anybody in his graduation class or in our gym right now. So I kind of can't not go after him. And I mean, the style of play for me was, yeah, I'm an undersized guy, but I don't give a damn. Like, I'm here to punch you in the mouth and see what you do about it. And if you don't do anything about it, you're going to be holding my pocket all day. So that's kind of just like my mentality of, I guess, the Chicago part of me and just being a younger brother, right? Like being the youngest of a family of 4, right? You get the crap. You get beat up a lot. You get the short end of the stick. So you have to defend for your own. So that kind of brought into kind of who I was and what brought me to be me. Then got to Ball State, where as a freshman, I was able to clock in some starting hours and cracking that starting lineup a good amount. And then going into my sophomore year, and from then on, I continued to be a starter and proving myself.
Real quick, I don't want to leave any ambiguity out there. So how tall exactly are you, Larry?
If you asked me when I first got to college, I was 6 foot. But towards the end of it, I had said, screw it. I'm actually 5'11". So I was 5'11", touching about 11'7", 11'6". So about a 42 inch vertical.
Yeah, that's wild. But I just wanted to say that and get it out there because, like Brandon said, dude, there's a lot of undersized guys out there that can ball, man. And I just want to encourage you to, if it's something you're passionate about and you want to go far, you can definitely do it. And Larry's an example of that.
And
True.
it's funny. It's funny you bring that up because I actually had, after I graduated some years after, a kid reached out to me on like Instagram. He's like, "Hey, I'm an undersized outside too. I know you're an undersized outside. I watched you in your career. I'm a big fan of yours. Can you give me any words of advice?" And I've always been a guy to like never turn someone away. Like I've always showed love to like any type of fan or anyone because I was them at one point. And if I can give them any knowledge to help them be better, then why the hell not? So I gave that kid some advice, this, that, and the other. And I think last year was his senior year, maybe. And he was a starting outside for Concordia Irvine. And he hit me up as a 5'10", 5'11" outside. And he's like, "Hey, I just want to let you know, I don't know if you remember it, but I reached out to you and you gave me some advice, and that's held true to this day, and it's helped me be successful. So I want to thank you." So I was like, dude, those are the fruits of your labor that really pay off, that make you like feel great about what you did.
Yeah, for sure. That's incredible, especially to be able to hear back and now see him succeed. That's awesome. Larry, how many times did somebody come to you and tell you that you should switch to libero?
My whole career. My whole career.
figured.
So the funny thing is, if you know me and you know me well, if you tell me I can't do something, I'm gonna be the first one to show you I can. And that kind of started with, the original school I really wanted to go to was Pepperdine, because my other best friend, Maurice Torres, was going there and he signed. And I was like, dude, me and together would be nasty. Like, we're going to just tear things up. And so I was trying to get there, and their assistant coach at the time was like, "Yeah, we'll probably look at you more as a libero." I was like, "Okay, like, whatever. I don't care. It's Pepperdine. I'll go be a libero, and I'll fight to be an outside somehow if I need to." But the moment that really switched for me was I was talking with Charlie Sullivan, who if you don't know who Charlie is, Charlie's the head coach for Springfield College in the East Coast, and they've won numerous
Legendary
titles.
Program.
They're
It's
very
a
legit.
great program, well established. Tons of great athletes have come through there. And as a high school kid, me being me, I was talking with him, and I love Charlie because I met him through USA Volleyball. He was my coach for 3 years, I think, while I was through USA. And he called me and we were talking. He's like, "Yeah, Larry, I would love to have you here because I want you to be an outside. All the other schools, I don't really see you being able to hit on the like D1 level against those guys, and they're probably going to make you a libero." And in my head, I'm like, "Charlie, I love you, but fucking watch this. Like, I'm not coming to your school anymore now just because of that. Watch this. I'm going to prove you wrong." And I mean, that's how the story got wrote right there.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I mean, I know, like, yeah, and that's the thing too. There's a lot of undersized guys that do give that up because they get a coach that tells them, "Hey, you can't do it." I mean, you're a great example. You went to Division I, had a good career, like you said, started your freshman year in and out, and then sophomore year on, you were a starter. I know Joe Worsley was like the same way. The setter for Hawaii. He was like told 1,000 times to be a libero, and now he's overseas playing in the Bundesliga as a setter and is like still obviously super talented. So, that, yeah, it is. But also it comes with no ease, I'm sure.
Like it was a guaranteed daily fight, like to prove yourself. Like if you had one bad game, that was the excuse for them to take you out and be like, "Well, see, I told you he couldn't do it."
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean,
it's a shame that that's the case, honestly.
Yeah. Like at the end of the day, like if you're scoring, they can't take that away from you. Like you're getting them points, and them not playing is them on their behalf.
Yeah, they can't say no at that point.
Right.
Kind of definitely feel like there's a shorter leash for like those like smaller guys. Like if the coach has someone that's like 6'7" or whatever, if the 6 foot or whatever guy has got 2 errors, they might pull him. But if the guy's 6'7", they'll leave him in for 4, 5, 6 errors, and then maybe give him a yank. So it's definitely tough. But in a way, I kind of think that might actually help you become like a more well-rounded, like perfect player in a way. Hey, I got to execute. I got to be on the top of my game. And so you kind of have to bring that focus. Did you kind of feel like that was your experience as well?
Yeah, in a sense of I just hate losing, right? Like, and I hate people scoring any points at all, whether it was a kill on me or a kill on my teammate. Like, I didn't like you scoring points. So like if it came to the defensive side or it came to blocking or it came to hitting or serving, whatever have you, I was trying to make sure you weren't the upper hand of it. So defensive mentality, I had a dog in me. Offensive mentality, I had a dog in me. Like that's just who I was as a player. So being an undersized outside, like I said it in the interview I had when I was at Ball State, being the size I am, to my thoughts, is a perfect size because I'm agile enough to do everything and do it extremely well at the highest level.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times coaches will recruit some guy with my stature, just some 6'7" lanky, oh, you can't teach height kind of thing, and then, well, maybe they're not so good at learning passing or ball control or anything like that, but now you're stuck with this goober in the background or something, you know.
I mean, that is a true fact though. Like, as getting into the coaching realm, like there's some kids who are 7 feet tall. Like, even if he's slow and dumb, like you can't teach 7 feet tall. Like there are some things that he's going to be able to do that other people won't be able to do, and is not going to be able to see in your gym all the time. So that is a factor for sure. But
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Go ahead, Peter.
I was just going to ask, when you're recruiting a team, how many of those guys do you want? Like where you're saying, okay, they're not really like that well established, but they're big. Like you obviously can't be full of that. You have to have some like guys that can actually, ball. Like how many of those are you looking for? Like those project players?
I mean, it depends on where you're at in your program, right? Like as a starting program, you're kind of taking more risk on those project players because you're looking to start something.
Right.
As a well-established program, I mean, maybe you could take one or two, just for the fact of you're going to get a bunch of kids who want to come there anyway. So if you can get a kid there for free, what does it matter, right? Like he's not taking any of my money. Like, cool, you can be a bench kid and say you were a part of it, but at the end of the day, it's not really hurting me any. But if you do turn out to be something, then I look like a freaking genius because you came here and now you turned into something, right? So like that's the difference. It's all dependent on like where you are with your program and what you're trying to do, really.
Yeah, very true. So Larry, I was pumped to dive into this. I want us to get into a little bit of Charleston. Okay, so that was your first. You had come from coaching club with your father, correct? And then Mike Iandolo took the head coaching spot over at Charleston my senior year. You and Mike came in to make some adjustments in the program, keep us moving forward. So what was it like going from maybe that club atmosphere, kind of jumping around like you were, not really sure if you wanted to fully commit to coaching or go elsewhere? Like what was that like? And then what was it like coaching at Charleston in general?
I mean, I always knew I wanted to coach. Like while I was at Ball State, I was a full-time athlete, full-time student, and a full-time coach. I coached high school, then went from the high school season straight into the club season. So if I didn't have a game while we were in season, I was traveling to coach my club team. So I was constantly involved with the game. I always knew I wanted to do something in this sport because this sport did so much for me. And I saw what kind of a tool it could be used for. So like after I got done with college, I wanted to go play pro. And I was not really sure of what agent to go with or anything like that. So I went with this guy and he was trying to get me teams and he got me a team in Greece, but that ended up falling through. Like if you know pro volleyball and you know teams in the areas, you know, if you get a contract from Greece, one, you might not get paid at all, or two, it might fall through. So that fell through and he was kind of just hee-hawing around and bullshitting. So at the time, like while he was messing around, we all know boys club tryouts start in September, right after Labor Day. Yeah. And so it was getting close to that time and my dad had his club and he was like, I could use your help. This, that, and the other. So I was like, you know what? Forget it. Like I'll forego that. I'll give that up. Help my dad build something here and just go from there and be here for him to help him do what he needs to. So I was a director for the club and the 18s coach, helped get them developed. And Mike actually reached out to me a year prior to him getting Charleston when he was at Grand Canyon because they needed a GA. And so he reached out about it. And at the time I was getting a master's in I was doing grad school at the University of Ohio, or Ohio University, sorry. And he reached out and I was like, I'm already in the middle of one. Like, I don't want to stop this and then pick one back up and go there. And then fast forward another year, he gets this job and he calls me again. He's like, hey, like, I know we talked. I know you're already doing one, but I could use a GA. It'd be a good step for you to get going. And I was like, all right, I'll think about it. And I started thinking on it. And like, just the more I thought, it was like, this doesn't happen often to where someone reaches out to you 2 times back to back. Like, this is a sign of something you need to do. Like, you aren't meant to be in this spot anymore. You've fulfilled the amount of what you need to fulfill of where you are, and it's time for you to grow now. So I took a call from Mike, and we talked probably for like 2 hours about the program and what he was trying to do and the things we could accomplish there. And it got me pumped up because I was excited about it. And I was like, you know what? Hell yeah, let's do it. And so I get there to Charleston, and I'm living in a dorm, me and my girlfriend. It's a big change because I went from living in a townhouse that was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-floor to a single room. So I had to condense my whole life, both of our lives, to just this one little cubicle, pretty much is what it was. I mean, I had my kitchen, my bedroom, my living room, my everything in one spot. So that's kind of hard to do. So that was kind of a stressor at times for someone being 27, 28 in your life, and after already being established and starting a life and coming and breaking that all down. So that was a little stressor here or there, but I mean, it is what it is. I'm never going to be one to run from something. But when it gets to the team part of it, meeting the guys, and it kind of like right away was like, all right, they're not bad. I mean, they're shitheads, but they're cool. They'll do all right. Like, they have some talent here. Like, they can get some things done. And as we're like working it, I'm sure Brandon will bring it up, but there was some incidents that happened, and Larry got to come out and be Larry and show the fear of God in some people. And I'm pretty sure I still have that fear of God from most of them, but it's also like a sign of respect. It's not just a fear. Like, it's a lot of respect I get from people, because me as a coach, I come to you with the utmost respect. I don't come to you to be degrading. I don't come to you just to say something. If I come to say something, it has purpose and it has meaning. And the guys started to learn that, and they knew that immediately when I would say something, it was coming from the heart. It wasn't just coming from somewhere off whim. And that's kind of where they really started to get, or I started to get their respect. They already had mine. They would lose it here or there at times, of course, because they're stupid college kids. But at the end of the day, like, I loved them all. So coaching at Charleston was an absolute blessing in disguise. Is the best way to put it, because I wouldn't be where I am today, right? I wouldn't be a head coach trying to do some crazy major things here in the volleyball culture world if I don't take that leap and just go make no money, get my master's degree for free, and struggle. Like, but the best thing is you'll learn through life is some of the best rewards come from the biggest struggles. And that's always been something I've strive myself to be on. Like, I'm not a big complainer. Like, you won't hear me ever complain about something, because complaining gets nothing done. Crying over spilled milk gets nothing done. Clean it up, figure out why you spilled it, and get moving on so you don't do it again. And that's kind of how I've lived my life. That's kind of how I was raised. So I'm not a big complaining type of guy. I took my punches on the chin like anyone should. I'm a first one. If I fuck up or I mess up, like, I'm going to take that punch to the chin. Like, I'm going to take my licks, and I'm going to accept them, and I'm going to move on and grow from it, because as a human being and as a person, we grow more from our mess ups than we do our successes. And a lot of people find when they're so successful their whole life from the beginning, that when they have one hiccup that isn't them being successful, they get into a depression. They get into stress. They find different things because they don't know how to handle the pressure of failure. And failure is something you have to be comfortable with. You can't be afraid of failure, because growth comes from failure. So, yeah, that's my journey to getting to Charleston.
I cannot harp on that enough of what this man just said. We need to just cut that clip down and send it out to the world, man. Yeah, oh my gosh.
Motivation.
And he's out.
Real,
yep, that's it.
He's out. He's done. He's out.
Mic drop,
just the amount of people though that like don't practice mindfulness in like the moment that they're in, because it's hard. What they're going through is hard, or it's just not what they had envisioned. And instead of being present in that moment and trying to find a solution, learning from that stuff, embracing the failure, they just are always looking ahead or looking behind for what they, they either want to have or what they did have, instead of just being present, taking your licks, again, learning from whatever happened. And just beautifully said, man. Holy crap.
I think that really comes from like being a kid. My favorite Disney character is Rafiki, right? Like Rafiki
Yes,
is
sir.
like the utmost like guru of all, right? Like you learn from your past. Don't let it happen again. But then you also bring in like Master Oogway, who is from Kung Fu Panda. Those two are like my idols in a way. Like Oogway tells you, he's like, yesterday is the past, tomorrow's the future, but today is the present. It's a gift. Use it. Don't harp on what happened and back then. Don't focus too much on what's to come. Focus on the present because it's a gift to be here in this moment today. So like putting those two together allowed me to be like the most guru zen dude, but hyper as hell. So like it's crazy mixture of who I am, but like those two like help mold me of who I like am today in a real way.
Yeah, this is why I was pumped to get Larry on the show. I mean, I spent a year with this absolute animal just barking kind of shit, and it was right down my alley, man. I like whenever I talk to people about my relationship with Larry, I just always talk about how much like I just kind of clicked with him. I don't know what it was, but just like we had similar backgrounds, similar like personalities and shit like that. And that's something that I think is super underrated, is like you were saying, like when you're in that struggle point and you're just kind of eating shit, taking it off the chin, like everybody gets sad or down. What I don't understand is why people in society in general, in sports, in work, in anything, they always think that there has to be some type of like silver lining, but I don't want that to come off in a bad way. Like, of course, there can be good things that come from it, but people are like, oh, like, I just made this big paycheck, or oh, I just had this great match. They're like, let me go out and like buy a new like jacket, or let me go spend this, or like waste it. Like this guy who I listen to a ton, and I think he's like fucking awesome. Gary V. Have you guys heard of him? Gary V. He'd look him up, dude. He does a lot of motivation. It's Gary VEE, and he does this motivation, and he's like, dude, he always talks about like his early 20s and stuff, and they're like, they're like, dude, why are you sitting there telling me about how you were broke as shit, like living in a 1-bedroom apartment, but when Facebook and stuff came out, you were able to invest like hundreds of thousands of dollars? He's like, because of that. He's like, I ate shit for 10, 15 years. He said, I lived in a shitty little apartment in New Jersey, commuted to the liquor store in New York, worked 60, 70 hours a week. And then I started my own YouTube channel on the side for this wine company and all this other shit that he was doing. He was like, dude, I didn't go and spend shit. He's like, when I got my first big check, or whenever I made $60,000, $70,000 in a year, I didn't go out and buy a BMW or something. He said, I put no money into anything. He said, I bought food, I paid my rent, and I saved and I saved. And he's like, and that's why I made money. Is everybody thinks that like you want that instant gratification, instead of if you literally put your nose down and just grind for as long as you can, you're going to come up into something. Which
that's the thing. Like I always use as a reference is like when you're swimming, right? Like you don't really know what the end goal is. You're just got your head down and you're just moving. And you come up for air every so often to see where you are, but you're just grinding to get to the end point. Mm-hmm. And that's how it is when it gets to like life, right? Like I just need to put my head down and grind. Don't worry about all the surrounding bullshit that's out there. Don't worry about the opinions of your friends or whoever else. Like, and that's the biggest thing is we grow up in society where we take and it's even worse now for kids today with social media, is we worry so other people think of us that we have to confide in what they're doing, like getting the PS5. I could give two shits about the PS5. I can give two shits about the Xbox, because at the end of the day, that's me. Yeah, that could be a de-stressor at the end of the day, but I don't need to have it right now.
Yeah.
What's the point of having it right now? Because you get it, go ahead and be the first one to get it. Guess what? It's going to have a ton of bugs. They're going to have to take it back, and it's going to crap out on you. So why be the first to get it?
Yeah.
There's no need to be the first, right? The best way to put it is the first person to do anything always has the biggest bumps and bruises, because you're making the pathway for others to follow.
Yeah. And there is another one that I love too, that I just saw, that just this guy in general, he's like how you were saying with the social media. And I think it applies a lot to like working out for a sport, like for volleyball, or trying to get in shape for something. This guy was like, disappear for 3 months. Really disappear, go off the map. Don't let anybody know what you're doing. Don't worry about posting on this or that or whatever else. He said, take 3 months and just work. Like sit down, go to the weight room every day, go into the gym, get extra reps, hit a ton of serves, do whatever you need to do. Spend 3 months of just grinding and then look at yourself 3 months ago and then show them like kind of the moves that you've made and how far you've come. And then like it also gives you kind of that realization where you see that benefit and that improvement. And like I think it speaks miles when you just, like I said, just go down and work.
Absolutely, man. Larry's got me just like leaning in when he talks. I'm like, yeah, yeah, all right. Give me some more, man. I'm just
Hey,
like
I'll put
so
you this way.
locked in.
I get this from my father. He is like the king honcho of it all. Like if you guys know who my father is and you've ever talked to him, like he is the most interesting man in the world. So I'm like, I got the background VIP my whole life of listening to all of his wisdom, and it helps me become this same type of person. So it's awesome to hear you say that.
Hey, man, it's just the truth. I also wanted to ask, as a player, were you much of a trash talker, or were you more? I have a feeling that this is the case. I didn't want to assume. And I also assume there's a little extra on it, like, oh, you're gonna let me, little Larry, just house you like that?
Little icing.
Was I a trash talker? Let's see. You can't be 5'11" and make it in this game without it, I feel it.
Yeah.
And I, like I said originally, right? Like I'm a dog. Like when it comes to this game, like I'm gonna put in work, and it's gonna be a dog fight. Like I was that guy who, if through high school we had a saying is like, if you aren't willing to, if this came to the third set and we said this third set, we're not playing volleyball. You got to brawl, and the winner of the brawl wins the match. Would you do it or would you run? I was like, I'd be the first one in the net to knock somebody the hell out. What do you mean? Like, I want to win. Like, that's how bad it means to me. So trash talking, absolutely, because a lot of people told me I couldn't do things. So me trash talking was to let you know, oh, I thought I couldn't do this. Oh, sorry, you're my little girl. Hold my pocket. Come on, where are we going? There's a story, actually. I was 17 playing 18s, was Jamian, and we were in Wisconsin. It was Wisconsin Boys Fest, so it was a qualifier. And we played Rolling Thunder. I will never forget this. And their right side, who's, I don't know, 6 whatever, a tall goon. And
they're above 6. Larry doesn't know. It doesn't function above that.
6 plus whatever, right? And I'm just going the whole time, like I'm banging off, like hitting off his elbow, like bitch, pussy, the whole time. and I'm right next to the ref, and he goes to the ref. He's like, he's calling me this, he's calling me that. Like, and he calls me over. I go, I don't know what you're saying. Like, I didn't do that. Like, I was like, have you heard me say this, sir? Like, I'm standing here right here with you. And he's like, just be careful what you say. Literally, the very next ball gets set to me. I wipe him. I push into him and throw it out like a pussy, and just walk away. And I go to my team after the game is over. This is how you know it's really Larry incident. After the game, the kids walking by me, Jamian, and my other teammate at the time, Ed Ricker, who's like the same build as Jamian, but just a white kid, like 6'7", big as hell, like sitting next to me. And this kid comes walking by and goes, "You're a douchebag," and keeps walking. And I go, "What'd you say?" I stand up immediately. I go, "What'd you just say?" He goes, "Oh, I didn't say anything." I didn't say, "Oh, no. Come here. What'd you just say?" And he goes, "I didn't say anything." I go, "No, go ahead. You so big and bad. Say what you gotta say." He didn't say it. So his teammate who was walking next to him, who was his friend, goes, "He said you were a douchebag." I go, "Okay, cool. You want to go outside and I'll beat the brakes off you right now." They go, and just walk off. I go, "Exactly. That's what I thought." So yeah, I'm a big trash talker, but I will back my trash talk up. If you want to come at me, I don't care how big you are. I will throw hands. I'm not scared of it. So trash talk is a big part. Celebrations is a big thing for me. It was all, I mean, Peter played against me, right, for a good amount of time. Like, I was a big celebrator because I was going to let you know I just got a point on you.
I'm really glad, by the way, that I was a left side and not a right side, so I didn't have to deal with your annoying ass over there, man. I would have lost my shit if you would have been doing that to me, man. So I'm kind of on the left side.
And
Hey,
I
I will
also
say
feel
this
like
though,
go
Peter.
ahead.
I will say this though, Peter. There is in my highlight video for when I was going pro of when we played you my senior year in your back gym. I ran like a back two and you went to block me, and somehow I just thumbed down the ball and bounced it line straight down on you.
That
And
makes
you
sense.
like, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I even remember in that game, like, just a little like testimony for Larry as a player, man. I'm pretty sure it was against Aaron was on the right side for this rotation, and then Seifert. So like 6'9" and 6'10. Over there, you got like 3 sets, like both times, like solid double block in front of you, like boom, high hands, easy cover, boom, high hands, easy cover, boom, high hands and out. It was just like you didn't give a shit who was like blocking you. You were going to be like attacking the ball, and I just remember just being like, man, does this guy like understand? Like he's like giving up a whole like foot on these guys almost. Like like what's going on here? But yeah, man, it was like a lot of respect for your game, and dude, I think it was just passionate. You know what I mean? I think celebrations, like it wasn't, you never did it in a disrespectful way. It was just, you could tell you just like really wanted to win. Like fun to play against you, man. Like that's, yeah.
Yeah, spark plug for sure, man. I feel like I got to be fair. Do you have any specific incidents where your trash talking did get you in trouble, or you just, I don't know, barked up the wrong tree maybe? Because I'm sure there's some other guys you played against. Nah, he says
No one's ever tried me because they could see the crazy in my eyes. So
it's a thing. If you don't know what he's talking about,
me.
there's a few players I've played against where they got crazy in your eyes, and you're just like, don't want it. I don't know.
But there was an incident at Ball State with me and a teammate where he did something like outside that annoyed me or pissed me off and kind of pissed everyone else off too, but no one else is vocal, but I am. So I was like, you know what? Watch this. This whole week, you're my bitch. I'm about to only harp on you. I'm about to only trash talk you, and I'm going to get into your head because it's a mental warfare game. And he finally snaps and tries to come at me. I'm like, yeah, somebody really wants to try me. Let's go. And we both get kicked out of practice. And me, I'm so big of like a team guy that like, okay, I got kicked out of practice. Cool. But we still have like an hour left of practice. I like got my foam roller. I went to the weight room, got my foam roller, came back into the gym and just started foam rolling and watching practice. And my coaches come to me and they go, you got to get out. Like, you can't even be in here. I was like, I'm not practicing. Like, I just want to be here to support my teammates. Like, that's just who I am. Like, I want to support the guys. So they're like, no, you got to go. I was like, all right, cool. So I just sat in the locker room the whole time until practice was over. And she's like, how'd practice go, guys? What happened? Like,
man.
So no one's tried.
So it's a new program, and Larry, as a head coach, they spend at least an hour a day working on trash talk. You go one-on-one in a room, you talk shit, and then you have to fight after, and then so just that's the way you know what you're getting into if you signed to school with Larry.
Just know, Brandon, I'm getting in shape even more than I was at Charleston to play, to show these kids what it's really like.
I'm excited to see it. I know. Whenever I talked to Iandolo right before you showed up, he told me, he was like, yeah, Larry's getting back in shape, because he said that you had gotten kind of out of shape before coming to Charleston. And he was like, yeah, he's getting back in shape to get on the court with you guys. And I was pumped. I was like, all right, let's get it. But no, and I mean, I played adult nationals with you and your team, which shout out to Merck Squad. They're a ton of great people. Great. I love all of those guys and girls. But yeah, so Larry, I played with Larry, and he's definitely a fierce competitor. He's a fun guy to play with. And trash talking, I can vouch for 100%. But okay, so now we're getting into the fiery. Oh, so, well, I guess that's a short answer to Callaway's question is that yeah, he does talk trash, I guess.
Yes. Long version, yes, I talk trash.
Now that he's all fired up about being angry at things, I want you to tell the story when we were at Charleston, and we're in like beginning weeks, and anybody listening to this is what happens when you do something stupid at college and you have an assistant coach that's fiery. But this is the one that on our last episode with Jason Donarovich, something that I talked about, and Larry was the immediate discipliner on site.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I'm a realist. I'm not stupid to what happens in college and what people do. So that morning, I think it was a Saturday morning, we had to go to Marshall University to work the football game. It was kind of like how we fundraised. And we worked the parking for the football team or the football games and tailgate and all that. And so we all met before we drove out there, and I looked at all the guys and I go, I don't care what you do. I just need you to be respectful, do your job, and the only thing I'm gonna tell you I don't want you to do is don't drink. If someone offers you a beer at tailgate, don't take it. Do your job. You can drink when you come back to campus. I don't care. And so we get out there, everybody's working, and my duty for it was to go around to each spot of where our guys were and just to check on them, give them a relief if they need to relieve, to use the bathroom or bring them food or what have you. And I mean, granted, we worked a long shift. Like it was from, what time did we get there, Brandon? Like 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock?
Yeah, yeah. And
was
we
like-
would get home at 10 or 11 at night. It was
Yeah, so it was
and that means
day.
we left campus at 8:30 in the morning.
Left campus early, got there, and then we came home. And like I said, I'm a realist, and I'm not stupid nor blind. I was a college kid, and I was probably one of the most craziest ones out there. So anything you try or want to try, I've probably already done it, rewrote it, and made it better. So we pick up the guys from their spots when they're done with their shifts, and we drive them back to the main base where they got to drop off their supplies and stuff that they had and go back to campus and get a ride. So we pick guys up and we take them back, and slowly but sure we're dropping more and more guys off, and we pick up a couple of guys, and I start to get some whiffs. I'm like, okay. And then I start talking to some guys, and they're starting to slur or they're more energetic than they were. And I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. And then I drive two guys home with me because the way it worked out is everybody carpooled there, but the way it worked when they got done, I just cut them and sent them home with whoever the next car was. So there are two guys who were left that needed a ride, so they just rode home with me. And so I'm talking to them, and one's in the front seat, one's in the back, and we're having a great old conversation for an hour drive home. And at this time, I get home, I get back in my room, and I look at my wife, my girlfriend at the time, and I go, these motherfuckers didn't want to listen. They want to drink. I know they were drinking. I could smell it on them. I could smell it on the breath. They were acting it. I'm not stupid. So the first thing I did was I texted Brandon. I think it was that night.
Yeah.
And I was like, yo, in the morning, come over here to Cox. I need to talk to you.
Which is the hall that he was living in.
Which is the dorm I was living in, Cox. Cox Hall. And that next day was our picture day. It was our media day. So we were taking our team photos and individual headshots and stuff like that. And I have Brandon come over to my dorm where I'm at, and I'm like cutting my beard up so I look nice. I don't want to look like a bum, right?
He's shirtless with all his tattoos out.
Yeah.
In the mirror, like a mobster with like a straight razor cutting his like face. And I like walk in and I can just see the anger on his face, man.
So I'm in there cutting my beard, and Brandon comes in, and I'm talking to him like, so your boys wanted to be stupid last night, and they think I don't know what happened, and they don't think I know. So what I need you to do is, after pictures are over, don't say anything in front of Mike, because if you do, I knew if this got to Mike, our head coach, a lot of guys had been kicked off the team, and that's not what we needed at the time. We just needed a standard set of this is how we do things, of a culture shock for them, and rather than guys getting kicked off. So it's like, don't say it in front of Mike. Wait until he leaves. Tell everybody to go in the locker room and wait in there. I'll be there. And so we get done with our pictures and everything, and everybody's in the locker room waiting. And Brandon's like, all right, you're good. You can come in. I walk in, and I hate wasting time. I immediately go, all right, don't BS me. Who was drinking? I know people were drinking at the tailgate. Who was drinking? Don't lie. Immediately, hand. I go, awesome. Put your shoes on, go outside. We go outside, and on the backside of campus, there's a boat ramp. And for those who know what a boat ramp is, it's pretty steep. It's not a very easy descent. And so I go, okay, everybody to the boat ramp. And I go, For those who decide to drink, guess what? You were too selfish to not drink while you were there when it was the one thing I told you not to do. And you think I'm a liar and I'm not going to hold up to my word. And then the other guys was like, and it's your fault on top of it because you let them drink. You knew what they were doing. You didn't stop them. Where were you at? So where was your part of being accountable as a teammate to hold them accountable? And then they're being selfish of not caring about their other teammates. So it's like, you know what's going to happen? Everybody go to the bottom of the boat ramp, get your lifting partner, put them on your back, and run up the hill. When you get to the top, you can walk mildly, a slight jog down. Once you get back to the bottom, flip and get running back up the boat ramp with your partner on your back. And we had some guys on the team who were about 245 with a partner who was about 200, maybe 190.
Right here. I had Meathead Martin's ass. We had the biggest meathead on the team.
So I got to that point where they were all doing it. And then I was like, all right, now stop. When you get to the bottom, stop and wait. It's like, okay, now everybody who was drinking, get to the left. Everybody who wasn't, get to the right. For those who decided to drink, since you decided to let all your teammates down, you're going to carry every single one of them up this hill. And there we had a team of about 18. So 5 of them were the ones drinking. So there were 13 people they had to go up this hill with. And I was like, and for those who weren't drinking, but let them drink, you can be in a plank position. Or you could be doing push-ups. You could be doing decline standing squats. The whole time they're doing this until it's your turn to get picked up and carried up, you're doing something. And guys are running up, holding their partners like, I don't give a damn. You made this choice. You throw up, you pass out, guess what? You made that choice last night. And you should have thought about this. And so we got to the end. I was like, all right, we can stop. I was like, just so you know, I'm a man of my word. And at the end of the day, this is easy compared to what I can put you through. I'm a military brat. I got some stuff that'll make you all cry. Don't push me. Don't piss me off. I will make you regret your life the instant you do it. And from that moment on, guys knew I was not one to mess with. They knew if I said something, I meant what I said. And the best part about it is if I told you to do something, I usually gave you the game plan of how to do it. I don't just tell you, hey, this is the picture I want you to paint it. I'm going to say, hey, this is the picture I need you to paint. Here's all the tools you need. All you need to do is take and fill in like the little colors. Take blue to 1, green to 2, this, that, and the other. I'm giving you where you can't mess it up. So if you mess it up, I'm going to be livid because I gave you how to do it. And so, yeah, that was the story. I'm sure Brandon can give you the other side of it, like the player side, but as a coach side, that's what it was.
I got one question for you, Brandon, is what was like after Larry left, what was like just the air in the locker room? What were people like? What was the general consensus after just, oh, hello, Larry?
Well, I think what was most funny about it is like I was thinking about this when Larry was just telling the story because I remember it because the coaches, we had gone in the locker room and I was captain at the time. Or I don't even know if we had elected captains yet. I was just kind of like.
No, you were.
Okay, I was. So I had everybody. I was like, hey, everybody just stay in the locker room. Larry and Mike were going up to the office and Larry had to wait for Mike to finish and leave before he could sneak out. And so I felt like a hunter that just had 16, 17 deers trapped in a cage that did not know what was coming to him. And I was like, oh my, because they were all in the locker room, like excited. They were like, oh, media day. Like we're off the rest of the day. Like everybody was pumped. And they were like, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, I already know this isn't going to be good. So that was like number one. And then after it, I think the air in the locker room was just gasping for it because everybody just went in there, shot. Like people were just collapsing in different, like people laying on the couch, people laying on the ping pong table, like in their locker, just slumped back, like hoping to survive. And I was like, and which I went to Larry, like I think it was later and probably at the end of the season. And yeah, it had to be near the end. And we talked about it again. And Larry was like, I only knew about 2 of them guys that were drinking, only the 2 that rode home with me. And he was like, there were about 9 of them that stood up. He was like 5 of them stood up. And the 2 that got caught by Larry that he knew were both upperclassmen, and all the other ones that like the other 3 were like freshmen that like just admitted it. Like, I mean, one of them was literally quivering like in his locker when Larry started yelling. And the minute he said, raise your hand, like he lit up, he shot up. I was like, I knew he was gonna pull. But
come here, fish.
no, I mean, I easily had 5 to almost not all the freshmen. Like some of them, like Diego took it well. Diego's just like a quiet grinder. Like he wasn't too bothered by it. But so I had many of the freshmen that came up and were just like, and even sophomores. So, dude, I'm scared shitless of Larry. Like I'm not fucking around anymore. Like that was terrible. They're like, that was terrifying.
And then after, I had guys who would come up. I'm like, Coach, I'm sorry. And I was like, no, stop. I don't need you to apologize. I don't want your apology. Don't do it again. That's how you say sorry. You don't do it.
Yeah, because you're not sorry. You're sorry.
You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you got caught.
Mm-hmm.
Is what it is.
Exactly.
So don't give me a sorry. Just don't do it no more.
Yeah. So that was interesting.
Pretty sure they learned real quick though after that.
Yeah,
that's my guess at least.
It's a good lesson for sure, man. And I also want to say, like, I really respect Larry's like view of it, man. Like he's like, I'm a realist. Like I went through college. I know what I did. I know what you're gonna do. And you know, part of that's okay here and there. But I think there's a serious problem when people are like, oh, we just won't talk about it, or I'll just tell you, and then like I'll just assume it's not gonna happen or something. Like that just makes it taboo. I think it's way better to have like open honesty and communication. So that you guys, you know, you don't want a player that's like afraid to come to you when they need help after they mess up or something like that, you know? So I think, you know, having that open communication is just like such a crucial part. And I think a lot of programs can benefit from it.
And the biggest part from it, I mean, the lesson that I was trying to get to them is, and it's because volleyball is literally the only true team sport, right? Like you can't do anything without your teammates in volleyball. And if you are so selfish to think I won't get caught, that's where you immediately messed up. Or if you're the teammate who lets your teammate get away with crap, how are you going to hold them accountable in a game? You know, so it came big into you let them do it because you knew about it, and you did it because you were selfish and didn't care if they got in trouble for it. And that was probably the biggest part of it for me in it, because for me, it's, even if you go back and you talk to any of my old teammates, I'm, the craziest guy and this, that, and the other, but I was probably the best teammate anybody's ever had, because I would literally throw blows for you. If somebody was messing with you, it was, where's Larry at? Because I would be the one to back you. Like it was a true brotherhood for me. Like, so like team is huge for me, and not being selfish. I mean, I was a guy who, I wanted the ball a lot. I told you to give me the ball a lot if you were my setter, but it was because I knew I could do something with it. It wasn't because I'm this almighty guy. It was because I want to win and I know I have the tools to help us. But also, if my teammate gets a kill, I'm going to cheer just as hard as I would cheer for myself as I would for them, because that's a point for us. At the end of the day, we got the W. I don't care about my stats, this, that, and the other, as long as we won.
I think that's a pretty important point. A lot of times I think you get guys that coming from high school or club or whatever, they're used to being like the go-to guy, right? But you can't have 3-4 go-to guys on a team. And when you have former go-to guys, a lot of times I think people can butt heads. And I think sometimes, especially with guys, you see a lot more of that kind of like egos clashing maybe between two people. But I think it's so important, man. You got to be thinking about the team and thinking about, all right, how do I do something to better my teammates and allow the team to take a step forward. And was that a little bit difficult? Were you, I don't really remember going against, I know you were one of the better hitters that we had to like focus on when we were going against Ball State. Were you like the go-to guy? I kind of don't remember the dynamic of that.
In my eyes, yes and no. Because I remember at one point, I think it was my 5th year after I came back from my shoulder surgery, my coach told my setter to stop giving me the ball as much when I was still the one scoring points. But I mean, I would say I was a go-to guy. I mean, if we were out of system, I was guaranteed getting the ball, just because that's the system I lived in, right? Like I'm an undersized guy. We get in trouble, just throw me a high ball and let me try to figure it out. And you could tell just by the number of attempts I would have in a game. Like I was getting 40 attempts, 30 attempts, if not more than that sometimes as a 5'11" outside. Like who the hell gets that many attempts in a game and just banging balls out? So yeah, I would think I was a go-to guy for us in a way.
And you just embraced I'm going to be the high ball hitting, like that was just your role and you loved it.
Yeah, I mean, hell, if that was the role that was given to me and that's the role that we needed to help us win, then by all means, I'll take it. But if you give me a ball and system, I'm about to make somebody look stupid. So
yeah, I mean, if I can hit these out of system,
I didn't really care.
Right, like if I can hit these balls out of system with a solid block, well, imagine what's going to happen when we're running a fast tempo and I got one person up there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. And Larry, I know I also wanted to jump into like the next step where you are now head coach, married, son on the way. Congrats, of course, from us. We're super happy for you. You know, a lot of big things going on for you. So how is it now jumping into being a head coach, going through recruiting in 2020? I mean, you know, it's your first time as a head coach, starting a new program, and you got to go through COVID. So, I mean, you got a lot of adversity that you're facing.
Yeah. It's been tough, like not going to lie. It's been real tough. For the simple fact of I don't have anywhere to go recruit. I'm handcuffed by NCAA of what all we can really do. So you kind of, as a new head coach during a pandemic, you're most of the time, I'm thinking, is this really how it is normally, or is this how it is because of the pandemic? And so it's hard to kind of figure out where that all fits. But at the end of the day, like I said, I'm not a complainer. Like I love what I do. I get to coach kids. I get to mentor kids. I get to go recruit. I get to be in a gym. I get to do this lovely sport that I'm so passionate about. So I can't complain. Like at the end of the day, like when this is all said and done, right? And hopefully COVID's done here soon. When it's done and I've been through all of this, like I'll be so much better of a coach than anybody else for that fact of I'm a new head coach and I've had to deal with this. Like I've been here since August. My dad's my assistant coach, but because of COVID, we had to make cuts. And he was one of the people who wasn't cut, but he was technically furloughed in a way to where he hasn't been here. So I've been doing all my recruiting. I've been doing for 2 teams, not just the men's team. So the men's and women's team, I've been recruiting for 2 teams. I've been training our women's team that's on campus. I've been learning the whole system of what to do for both teams. I've been trying to get things situated of how I want our men's program to be set up and how to get them set up to the right way. So there's going to be some bumps and bruises. There are going to be some things I mess up and there'll be some things I miss, but I'll learn from those because I'll never forget them, right? You're going to remember those mess ups. You won't really remember your success as much. At least that's my personality. Like I'll remember all the times I fail more than I remember my success. So coming here has been awesome. Like 2020 and COVID has been like a true blessing in disguise in a way, because it kind of allowed me to play catch up in all honesty, right? Like it allowed me to get that footing to where like everyone else is here and I'm here, but like during COVID, they're paused, but I'm still grinding and working to where I'm here now. So it's helped me. Like you said, me and my girlfriend, well, my wife now, was girlfriend at the time.
Still getting used to that. Huh?
No, it's just I'm trying to phrase of how to put it in the time frame of when I'm talking.
Oh, God.
So
Okay.
like before we got married, it was okay. I know I'm going to propose to her. I got this job. That's the next chapter in our life. Of course, I want her to be there with me because she sacrificed everything to come to the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, and leave everything back home and come with me and live in a dorm. Like, who does that, right? Like that's a true test of a relationship. And we made it work for 2 years of having no like personal space. And so I already knew that was going to happen. And I was honestly going to do it at adult nationals. I was going to fake an injury and propose to her, but that didn't work out because there was no nationals. So I proposed to her at a house we were looking at. We came to Georgia to look for a house to rent at the time. And after we got done looking at it, I stopped her. I was like, this like could be the place. Like, this is awesome. I was like, it's just missing one thing. She's like, huh? I was like, if you would marry me and be And that would make this chapter where it needs to be. And she immediately didn't hear anything I said, just started crying. So like that happens. And then like I actually get here and I'm working and I'm doing what I got to do as a head coach, and I'm meeting the girls and I'm starting to recruit and I'm getting the guys that I want to get here to build something. And then we get the news we're having a kid, and it's like, oh shit. Like even like more news, like how am I getting so lucky or so thankful and blessed where I can accept these things that just keep piling on me? Like, who the hell am I to have so much positivity come to me in this time where so many people are struggling, right? Like, that's where I'm a selfish person in the realm of I don't look at my success as like, yeah, I deserve this. It's like damn, there's a lot of people who are struggling harder than me right now. Like, I'm thankful. I appreciate what I'm getting right now. So like, yeah, I got a kid coming on the way. His name is Phoenix Antonio. My wife came up with the name, even though I have a Phoenix tattoo. She came up with the name well before we met. I got the middle name because it's my middle name. So it'd be Paul and Law running together. He's going to be truly a mini me. I'm excited to see him grow up and me grow as a man, teaching him and watching him grow and just being around kind of like what I got as a kid growing up with my dad coaching. Like I got to be around a lot of older people and I got to learn by watching, not necessarily by doing a lot. And that's why I feel I'm able to do a lot of things better than most people because I observe before doing, and then I break it of how it would work for me. I even had a teammate when I was at Ball State, and he was like, Larry, you should work for Google. I was like, I don't know shit about computers. Why would I go work for Google? He's like, no. Like, you find things and he's like, and don't take this the hard way, but like, you find the easiest way to do it. And I was like, yeah, that's true. Like, I want to put the less amount of work in, but I'm still going to give you a great product of whatever it is. He's like, that is you. Like, you should work for Google for that fact of you find the easiest way to make anything work. And been because I observed my whole life, like being the youngest of four, like I got to see my older brother succeed and fail. I got to see my older sister succeed and fail. And I got to see what would make me succeed and fail, and blend it all together. And that's helped me a ton growing up. So I'm excited to see him go to that same thing of being a gym rat and being in the gym and just getting to see all these older people and him getting to have some idols that are older than him and maybe one day being able to be someone else's idol. And then just what I'm trying to do with this program is I'm trying to give young men who look like me someone to look up to, because you don't know you can do something unless you see somebody like you doing it. And for them to be able to see a black head coach, a black assistant coach, a majority black team, or 50-50, whatever have you, and doing well will allow them to go, wow, I want to do this. I want to play volleyball. I didn't even know that was a real sport. I thought that was, sorry boys, a white boy sport. That's not a sport.
It is what it is, man.
And that's the stereotypical part. And this game has done so much for me. And there's so many kids out there who get pigeonholed into just one sport, and they get caught chasing, as my dad calls it, the brown and orange crack. And that's basketball and football. And there's only 1% that go to the NFL. And there's only 10% that get scholarships at a D1 level. But there's so many other scholarships. And I'm not even just talking volleyball, like lacrosse, soccer. Like, there's so many other sports, even freaking F-150, F1 racing. Mm-hmm. There's, what's his name? I think it's Franklin Tomlin or something like that. He's a black Englishman, and he's won, I think, 17 straight cups, 19 straight. Like, he has been killing it. And he's the only black, like, everyone talks about Bubba Wallace for NASCAR. Well, he's been doing this in F1 for a long time, and he is good at it. Why are we so stuck to doing just one thing? Why can't I do something else? And it's because we're afraid of, like we talked earlier, breaking outside the norm. We're afraid of what our peers will say about us. And I didn't worry much about that growing up because I wasn't afraid to speak my mind. And if someone was like, oh, that's a girl sport, I'm like, oh, it's a girl sport? come stand on the court right here real quick and let me hit this ball at you and let me see if this is a girl sport and I knock you out. And we got our respect immediately in a predominantly black school because of it. So like I'm really looking forward to what we can do here. I'm really looking forward to helping growing this game even more. Our USA team is great now, but they'll be even better when we get our full capacity of athletes we have. Like we're tapping into 2% of the athletes in the world, in the US. Like we haven't even gotten to the Spanish population. We haven't gotten really into the black population or the Asian of America. Like there's so many kids that have yet to break through this game that could be our next Russell, could be our next Sander, could be our next Christian. Like there's so many kids out there that have yet to find it because they don't see someone like them doing it. And that's what we're trying to do. Like as I recruit kids, I tell them like the kids I'm recruiting are really good. They're damn good kids and we'll win this conference for sure. But I tell them, if you look into history, history always tells us a good story. And what history tells us is dynasties will fall one day. A dynasty will always fall. But what will never fall is a legacy. A legacy will live on for lifetimes. And what we're trying to do here is set a legacy of inspiring young men who look like us or even don't look like us. Maybe it's a white kid who comes here and does well and he grows because he's around people who he's normally not around. He gets to see a different culture. And that's the thing that everyone has to understand is an HBCU and a PWI, which is your normal university, it's a publicly, privately white institution. They're the same. The only difference is the culture. Like you're not going into this, you're going into this, and now you're learning about this type of people. And I think that when you have a president like we've had will help you understand better and not be so ignorant to what's out there by you getting outside of your comfort zone and going somewhere else and seeing that this man who looks darker than you is actually the exact same as you. You come from different backgrounds, but you like the same things. You think the same way. Maybe you have different beliefs here or there with things, but you're the same. Like you can learn so much more. And that's what guys who go overseas to play, they learn quickly is I go overseas to speak this language, but they accept me immediately. And I learn a different culture, and that helps me become a better person and a better man or a better woman, whatever have you, because I'm growing my mindset. And that's what we're trying to do here. And it's all about that for me.
Yeah, man. And honestly, that's what a huge part of like why we're even doing this podcast is to just grow volleyball in general, give a really honest perspective as, you know, consistently given by me, Brandon, and Peter, and then getting incredible guests like you on of all different kinds of backgrounds, getting their perspective and just getting it out there for people to hear. Because, and I've talked with Brandon and Peter about this, you know, if you're in a volleyball circle like that we all talk about all the time, but it's not something that when you're growing up as a volleyball player that you're hearing very often, you know? So it's just, I don't know, that stuff's so cool to hear. And I love what you're doing over there, man.
Yeah. So we just got to figure out how do we reach these younger guys more. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And the other part of it too is like as coaches at the younger level, we got to stop pigeonholing these kids and telling them, if you want to do this, only do this and get great at it. Like that's not going to work. Like if you want to be an athlete, you need to play more than one sport and then have one that you're focused in more, but you have to be an all-around athlete. Like you got to think about the women's side of the game. These girls start at 10 years old. They're burnt out by the time they're 20. They don't even want to play anymore. They're just doing it because they have a scholarship for free. And they burn out so fast. And you have guys, even on the men's side, they become good and they get stressed and they become depressed because this is all they know. This is all they've done and they don't know anything else. And then you get the injuries on top of that from doing the same repetitive motion over and over and over that you end up getting hurting. You end up getting hurt. And that injury now becomes a season-ending injury for you that ended it all. Like I was a football guy at first, and that's probably where the aggression comes from for me a lot because I was a quarterback, but I got to play defense here or there. And there was one year when I was playing Pop Warner, I think I was 6th grade, 7th grade, and I was quarterback, and I just got done throwing the ball, and it was a late hit. Ref didn't call it. And I just looked down at my arm, and there was a chunk missing from my arm about that deep. Like I could see down deep into the white meat. and the kid's face mask, the corner of his face mask, cut into my arm and cut it deep. And the coach calls my dad down from the box because he was the announcer for us. Calls him down, and he's like, "You good?" I was like, "Yeah, put me back in the game." So they just throw gauze on it. They spray some disinfectant on it, put the gauze, they wrap it. I go, "Coach, put me on defense. I'm gonna smack this kid in the mouth right now." He goes, "I can't do that." He's like, "I can't do that. You're my only quarterback and you're my best quarterback. I can't put you in the game on defense." It's like, so I didn't get to do it, but then like I got to be a defensive end. I got to be a middle linebacker. Like I love just smacking the life out of people. And I took that same aggression and brought it into volleyball because volleyball, people don't understand, it can be just as physical as any other sport. Mm-hmm. I've broken many of pinkies. I've stopped kids from breathing. Yeah, I stopped kids from breathing because I hit them in the throat because they were trying to get out of the way of a ball. I have kids give themselves concussions because they try to dodge a ball and hit their head on the ground. Like this game can be physical if you want it to be physical, and it's just the mindset of it all.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I always say, man. Volleyball's the most physical, non-contact sport. You know, it's not contact between the other team, but you're contacting the ball and contacting the floor every damn play. So don't tell me it's not contact.
Yeah.
And how to system balls with like big blockers, man. My thought process, Larry, I'm sure you had the same one, was like, let's break some fingers. Like I'm swinging for the very fingertips as hard as I can. I'm trying to make these like, they're shaking their hands, whatever. Like that's the shot that you're trying to hit. So.
And that was a mindset I had as a young kid too. I was like, all right, if you're gonna block me, cool, you're gonna block me. Like I know you're gonna block me on this ball. I'm gonna make sure you don't want to block me on the next one. So you're gonna be looking at your hand here in a second and going, that shit hurts so much.
Yeah, was it worth it?
You're gonna block me, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah, which I mean I guess helped me in my career because I still think to this day I had one of the heaviest arms. I think I still have one of the heaviest arms to this day when it comes to hitting the ball. So,
yeah,
you definitely do, man. Yeah, you absolutely do.
Yeah, that's awesome. But I know we're coming towards the end of it. So I want to thank you, of course, Larry, for coming on. You were incredible to have, man. Really dropped a lot of knowledge and everything. Like I think that if there's any, we've had so many great guests and everything, but this is definitely, I think, going to be a very highly watched one, and a lot of guys will get a lot from it. And I mean, of course, I'm a big fan of you. We're close friends, still talk to you regularly, so you know you're my guy. But I think you're going to do great things down there at Fort Valley State. I'm pumped for you and your family, everything you got going. And I know that those guys are heading the right path. But, at the end of this, we'll do a little plug for you, for Fort Valley State, for Motivate also, guys, which I know we didn't get to talk about a lot today. But Larry does have his own podcast, Motivate. That's incredible. Also on Apple and Spotify. So go check that out. Larry, thanks again for coming on, man. We really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you, boys, for having me. Like we could have kept talking for more and more if you guys didn't have a time limit. Like I love being able to have conversations with people. Like that's the best thing is you learn from conversations. I said it in my podcast is you were given 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 mouth, which means you should be taking in 4 times as much information than you spit out. So being able to sit here and talk with you 3 has been awesome. Like I truly am thankful for you guys asking me to be a guest on your show for sure.
Yeah, man. And we'd love to have you back down the road after we cycle through some more guests because, like you said, I'm sure we could talk for hours with you, man. So thanks again for coming on. We really appreciate it.